So, without further ado, I'll tell you about my studio, Silent Hero Studio. I used to be an illustrator, and I really, really wanted to make comic books. I was raised on them, and it was just the thing that I knew I was going to do with my life. And in Kentucky, I got a couple of jobs. Well, I guess you could call them internships. All right. I basically got asked to draw pictures, is how it happened. And people told me to believe in the story and to build my resume. And at first I did. You know, it was great. People would send me little doodles of their concept, and then I would send them a cool picture. Made it look a little bit more professional. And it was a little while before I realized that I wasn't just building my resume. I was helping these people make their work look professional, helping them get into the industry. And so I asked them, I said, hey, do you mind signing a contract so that way if your story gets big, then I can get some royalties? And they said no. So I stopped believing in the story, obviously, and decided to write my own. So that's where Silent Hero Studios was born. I decided to be what I never got, a writer who paid artists. And from that, I started to learn a little bit more that on the independent circuit of artists, they needed someone to know who they were, dreamers. Dreamers with big ideas that they wanted to share with the world. And more importantly, they were people. People who had families, people who had rent, people who had bills to pay, people who went to college for 4 years like myself and have to pay their student loans back. So we decided to invent a Make It Awesome machine. It's a little trashy as you can see for now, but it's growing into something amazing. And it's for you to use, for any story that you want to tell. Imagine you're out at the bar with your friends. This is you. And you're sitting around catching up, telling stories, dishing out gossip, talking about the weather. And someone makes a comment that sets you up for your great story about why your day completely sucked. But halfway through the story, you realize that they might not understand why your boss is upset that the backfill that you had to do the density test on wasn't really based on a sample that you took, so you kind of just let it slide. They also don't know that a caramel mocha latte is supposed to be iced, and they just really don't care. Oh, and the joke that you had that was going to make them laugh for the rest of the night, well, you lost them 20 minutes ago. So much for that. We're your friend who listens beforehand. We try to keep you concise, and when your boring gets story, we help you cut the fat, trim it down, keep the goodies. And then we listen and discuss, listen and discuss, listen and discuss, until it's funny. And then hopefully, when you're at the bar, you get everyone's attention, you set them up for the joke, and you're a riot. And everybody thinks your story is great. So let me explain a little bit more about what we've done. This is a collection of some of the works that we've worked with people on, which have ranged from $0 budgets around here to $200 or $2,500 budgets. And some budgets we're just helping out someone who's already well established, and they come to us because they've seen our resume. And here's something we've done for local musicians. We're trying to build a more visually appealing poster set for artists in the area. So let's talk about the Make It Awesome box. Basically, it starts with me and the creator. As you can see, I'm typically a little bit more happy than our creators because they don't really know what to do, and that's where we come in. We discuss on them with a personal level what their concept is, what they're trying to tell the world through their story. And after we get the basic idea down and we think that we're capable of helping them and that they have a budget that we can work with, that's when I start looking. I built up a collection of a lot of artists, writers, producers, designers, musicians, actors. I basically networked as much as I could over the span of my life online to build a repertoire of people who I can go to for help. Then I find the right ones for the vision, and me and the creator pick who we need and what's within budget. And that's when the real fun begins. This is pretty basic, I would say, for most of you understand how it goes. Our client comes to me, we talk about it, I go to the team, kind of like a round robin, we just keep working it out until we get that awesome factor we're looking for. So now that you understand the Make It Awesome box, let's talk about some of the projects that we've worked on. The Forgotten Forest was the first project that we worked on as a studio. And basically the concept is a young boy is dealing with the divorce of his parents after getting kicked out of private school. And he goes to his grandma's for a summer and gets lost in the forest and goes on this crazy big imaginative adventure where he goes through a lot of metaphorical situations that help him deal with his fears and insecurities and helps him kind of grow into a young man. And it all started with one little sketch and one little one-page pitch, which was great. But it just didn't have that like, oh, hey, this is something I should pay attention to. It just looks like a little doodle. So we put it through our Make It Awesome machine and found some artists who could really drive home the concept. And we created kind of a Disney/Pixar imagery. And we ended up with a 95-page feature-length script, a lot of great concept art, ended up with background artists who could do some amazing work, and one masterfully crafted beauty shot of what the animation might potentially look like when it gets finished. And I mean, that journey alone was enough to just give us enough confidence to say, hey, this is something cool, this is something we could do. But an animation, especially a feature-length animation budget, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, especially for a startup studio. So we kind of forgot the forgotten forests and reined in our ambitions just a little bit and started with a comic book, American Oni. This is a tale that most everybody nowadays is way too familiar with. The concept is big, greedy corporations and their big evil bosses are ruining the world and taking over and just caring about themselves. And it follows a bunch of rebels who use ancient magic to get their spirit animals to empower them so they can battle these corporations who are ran by an ancient cabal of ancient demons. I mean, like, it sounds pretty cool, right? But the problem was our artists couldn't really nail that kind of dark and malicious tone that you need for the art to have that kind of like deep of a story. So we put it through our Make It Awesome machine again and found the right artists. And we started creating concept art. We have 15 pages of scripted story. We have a plot line for 3 books. We also have a 5-page pitch with a 6-page from a later issue. We also have awesome posters, tons of awesome posters, which I've been handing out like madman. We have some 3D printed assets, which I can show you. They don't translate as well to 2D, but they're super cool to hold in your hand. And we also have a Kickstarter and a promotional video with just a great musician, actor. We had a voice actor. I mean, it really has come together. And we're at 76% with 4 days to go, so it's, regardless of what happens, you're going to see our projects out there. Basically, Silent Hero Studio is in the business of making you look good. We grew up on fantastic, imaginative stories, and we feel like we're better for it. We're more gracious, we're more grateful, and we're probably a bit too grand in ambition for ourselves. You know, comic books, cartoons, movies, they don't change the world. They change hearts. And the people who carry those hearts around, well, they can change anything.